Breaking news out of the ACC Tournament. The conference announcing that the game with Georgia Tech set for Virginia tonight has been canceled due to a positive COVID-19 test. That game was set for 6:30 p.m. in the semifinals, part of that bracket. UVA, of course, the top team in that bracket, will not be able to play because of the positive tests in their program. Georgia Tech moving on, but now question marks for Virginia moving ahead into the field of 68. All right, let's bring in our Matt Norlander. This news kind of coming down the second time in 2 days. Duke yesterday, now Virginia. What more can you tell us about it?
Well, this obviously is creating a lot of intrigue and curiosity and doubt in that conference tournament at this point. There's a lot we do not know as we speak at this minute here. So we do know there is one positive test in Virginia's program. Subsequent contact tracing has necessitated removing Virginia from the ACC tournament. Because of that, Georgia Tech will now move on to play in the championship game. The big question is, will Virginia be able to play in the NCAA tournament? This is the reigning national champion. The last time we played an NCAA tournament, Virginia won the whole thing. It clearly is into the field. It is a safe team. It's a single-digit seed. We just don't know yet what the contact tracing situation is with Virginia and how it will impact their future as it pertains to, can they play in the NCAA tournament? If they can play in it, when would they be able to leave? I want to remind viewers of this very important point. The NCAA has stated that in order to travel to Indianapolis and be a participant in a Tier 1 travel party of as many as 34 people, if you want to leave and go to Indianapolis, you have to provide 7 consecutive days worth of negative tests. Right now, we know Virginia has 1 positive test. It will continue to test. The question is, because there is this positive, does Virginia just get merely delayed? Or Virginia has been testing since early this week. It's been testing since Sunday, essentially, okay? So if these people in quarantine and contact tracing, if they continue to test today, tomorrow, Sunday, and they are all continuing to be negative, Virginia, as I understand the situation, would be able to leave and go to Indianapolis. If there were more positives that surfaced, it could potentially delay Virginia's situation. This is in part why the NCAA pushed back the start of the tournament just a little bit. So if a team needed to leave a day or two after or something like this surfaced, there was a little bit of wiggle room without completely delaying the tournament.
Matt, if we're looking at this from the outside in, you do have 2 teams now out of the tournament because of positive COVID tests. Duke yesterday, as I mentioned, and now UVA. You mentioned they're the defending champs. If you're looking at this, the other teams that are in this tournament, is it worth to continue and risking a chance of missing out on the big chip in the NCAA tournament?
I mean, I've got someone in the ACC that has texted me. It said, it makes you wonder what we're even doing tonight. And that's a good question. Will the ACC tournament continue to be played? This is the only this is now, Virginia's not Duke wasn't the first and Virginia's not the second. There's actually now been 7 teams that have been eliminated from conference tournament play in the past week and a half because of COVID issues. These are power conference teams, high profile teams, so they receive more attention. These are not the first 2 instances, but the ACC is the first conference to have multiple teams removed from its conference tournament because of COVID issues. So on the ground there, I don't know if they are or are not seriously already talking about whether they're going to finish the tournament or not. I don't know if that's happening or not, but I do know there is already doubt that has surfaced among some people on the ground there about, okay, do we want to do this? Do we want to play the rest of the ACC tournament on Friday and then have our championship game on Saturday and potentially chance a situation where maybe we put another team in quarantine? That's going to have to be a very real situation that they have to consider. And, there's a lot of stuff that goes into all of that. So keep that in mind. And one more thing that I have to harp on here. I talked to coaches, administrators, conference commissioners about this very issue in the preseason and early in the season. I did a story for CBSSports.com in January asking coaches if they would prefer to not play in their conference tournaments. And almost 30% of them said, yeah, if it was up to me, I wouldn't do it. Clearly, the administrators got their message, quietly behind the scenes in recent weeks that said, hey, we're playing these conference tournaments. Now look at where we're at. These leagues insisted when the NCAA was going to play its tournament, when it was going to play it, the leagues had the option to shorten their league schedules, put the conference tournaments not right up against Selection Sunday and give a a buffer, a 5, 7, 9-day buffer. They didn't want to do it, and now because of this, we saw what happened with Duke, and now the reigning national champions. As we sit here, right now, their tournament future, NCAA tournament future, remains in doubt. And I just can't help but think that this specifically could have been avoided. This is not a surprise. This is something that was talked about in every single league by every single athletic director, every single conference commissioner, and everyone just decided to chance it. And ultimately, you have to ask yourself, was it worth it to chance it if we lose 1 or 2 teams that otherwise deserve to play in this NCAA tournament? The big question, and something a lot of people are going to have to grapple with here.
Putting their postseason in doubt there. Stepping away from Virginia for a second, because they did play Syracuse last night. This is still a fluid situation. We don't know which player, if it was somebody that was either playing in the game or didn't travel with the team, whatever it may be. If you're Syracuse, Jim Boeheim, what are you thinking right now?
Well, Syracuse has been notified in some regard here. It played Virginia, so the people in charge of contact tracing or health county officials, they have been in contact with Syracuse. They have let them know, here's what you need to know, without specifically revealing the identity of the person that has COVID positive, because that's a health privacy HIPAA issue. They have let Syracuse know whether the player played, if the player played, how long he was on the floor, if the player didn't play, et cetera, et cetera. So it's similar to a situation with Louisville, frankly. There actually hasn't been one proven case in college basketball where a team has played another team that had COVID positives, and then that team caught COVID positives through transmission of competition. That just hasn't happened yet. So obviously that's a concern. If you're Syracuse, just like if you're Louisville, which played Duke, whose player, I had a source tell me, did not play in that game, you're obviously concerned and on the lookout, but there's not immediate reason to be, thinking that Syracuse is suddenly going to find itself for sure in the same situation that Virginia is in the next 12, 24, 36 hours.
Definitely a situation we did not want to see twice in back-to-back days in the ACC. Of course, the latest here with Virginia out of the tournament. Matt Norlander, appreciate your time breaking that down for us. I'm taking a look at the bracket as it stands right now. Of course, Duke yesterday, Florida State moving on to the semis, and now Georgia Tech automatically in the championship game with Virginia out of it. This should be interesting, considering if they will continue to play the tournament. Matt touched on it. Question marks if they should continue after having 2. Of course, the tournament taking place in Greensboro, North Carolina.
Want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis. No yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.